Hi Copic fans, Michelle Houghton here. We have our next color family that we are exploring. It is, what are we, April? Yes, April of 2022. And this month we are looking at the YR family, which is the yellow reds. So the yellow reds have zeros, ones, twos, threes, sixes, and an 8. So all of those are going to play in on this particular one. The image I'm going to use is another of the Anne Corbière Scott designs. And again, this is a printable that you print out the whole sheet. It's already laid out on an 8.5 by 11. Make sure to do your 8.5 11 with no borders, and then you'll get the full print. If you don't adjust that on your printer, it might print out just a slightly smaller, although you might like that. That works as well. And you get 3 big eggs and a couple small things, but in honor of Ukraine. And this is a new release from Anne. This is coming out in April as well. So I thought very fitting to do our sunflower in these yellow-red tones. Now, if you're familiar with Copic, yellow-red is what the YR stands for, and it is kind of the orange collection. If you work your way around the color wheel, typically you've got your reds, you've got your yellows, and you've got an orange smack dab in the middle. With Copic, that's the yellow-red, and then we don't have those tertiary colors in between kind of the orange and the red and the orange and the yellow. That yellow-red becomes kind of a secondary color versus the tertiary in between. If you'd like to learn more about that vocab, let me know. But that is what we're dealing with today. It's not a huge family. This is a much smaller group of markers. You're going to see the YR zeros start very peachy and almost skin tone and go into very vivid, saturated oranges. And remember, any of your Copic markers that have that 0 in that first slot, so YR0, means there's no gray added. It's very saturated color, which means those bright, intense colors. As we work our way up through the 2, the 3, the 6, and the 8, we're adding amounts of gray into that and dulling that color down or desaturating it. So hopefully that's going to be visible around our flower. I gave us a key all ready to go. Look at me be prepared today. So I'm going to start with 3 petals that have the zeros, 3 that have the ones, 3 that have the twos and the threes. And then our 6s and our 8s are only going to get 2 petals, but they are much smaller little groups. The 6 actually, and the 3s only have 2, but I really think you want to see the 3s. The 6s only have 2, and then I'm saying that completely wrong. The 6s have 3. Let's make an adjustment. Look at me adjust on the fly. So I'll work our way around. I'm going to trim this one down, or one or both, with a big set of scissors that I'm reaching for, so I can maneuver this a little better on my paper. Now, if this is orange, the yellow-red, who knows? I know you can't answer. Who knows what the opposite on the color wheel would be, which means the complementary color. What would that be on the color wheel? The correct answer is blue. So if you want to do something against the yellow reds, it's going to pop. Blue is what you're looking for. Okay, so let's start with the zeros, and we're starting with this little group of petals on this side. We are going to go dark to light again, just like I did on the last group. And we literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Count them, 8 yellow, red zeros. So let's start on this outer petal. And I'm going to start with my darkest color in deep toward the center of the flower. This is a YR09. So nice, bright, intense color. I have a YR07. And I might even, I'm thinking I'm going to do this kind of traditional sunflower, even though I'm going with yellow reds with a deeper brown center when I finish this. So I'm not super concerned about hitting these little guys because I think those are going to go darker. At least that's what I'm kind of thinking on. So this is still the YR07, which I'm gripping in my hand and you can't see. Obviously needs to be cleaned. YR04 is next. Let's finish this guy off. Now this is a natural blending group, meaning it's all three markers start with a YR. All three markers have 0 in the saturation slot, and then we're going down or changing that value number by just 1 or 2. So we've got the YR09, YR07, YR04. Now we have a 02. And I used up a little too much space, so on this third petal I'm going to have to keep it really slim, keep it close to that base. That's the 02, 01, 00. And yes, we have a triple and a quadruple 0, just like many, I think all of the color families at this point have. When you hit that saturation of 0, you're going to have a triple 0 like this one, and you're also going to have a quadruple 0. And the quadruples, I mean, it truly is almost clear. You're going to get barely any color, and as that dries, we'll get a good sense of that. So that is the YR zeros, this whole group right there, in a huge range because of the going all the way from a quadruple 0 to a 09. One of the really neat things, these lighter tones you really can use almost as a skin tone. When I started coloring with Copics, I actually used the YR, I think 000 and the YR01 for a very long time as my go-to skin tones, these kind of peachy skin tones. Probably not really realistic, but it is what I went to. Okay. YR1s. We're going to do the next 3 petals with those. So again, let's use these back petals for our YR18. That is the darkest in value of the YR1s. So let's start with that. Then we've got a YR16. We'll do the same thing on this one. Bring some of this color down. I've got a YR17. 1.5. Very similar to the 1.6. Not a huge jump here. And then one that a lot of you are familiar with, to me the ones that most people are familiar with are that YR18 and then the YR14. Now, this is the one that has the funky little cap. If you're not familiar with this one, this cap looks, it's caramel on is what the name is. And it blends really well with the YR18. And it has some of those desaturated tones. It doesn't really look like that color. And they have changed the cap color. And so some people's look more similar to the marker color. I have an old one, so it does not look correct. The last color in that series is a YR12. And I want to point something out with this particular series. It kind of jumps around a little bit. I don't know if you could see that as I was coloring, but the YR18, we're going to put this over here. This is the 1.8, and this is the 1.4. These two actually look to me like they kind of go together. And then you've got the 1.6, which is supposedly darker than this. The 1.5, which looks almost identical. And the 1.2. To me, this is a little group and it doesn't change a whole lot. And then these two have some power and work pretty well together. So this group as a natural blending group doesn't work spectacularly well, but I do love my YR14 and my YR18. I actually use them quite a bit, but this is driving me nuts, and so I must go back and add a little bit of YR18. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not liking that blending combo. I like my YR14 and my YR18, and then I put something else with them. I would add like a YR2 something. We'll experiment here as we add. How about that? Or even some of those zeros at the light end. Okay, so then we've got the 2s, and we're going to do 3 petals on that as well. There are 5 markers in the YR2 series. Moving around to these 3 over here. We've got a YR27, a 24, a 23, 21, and 20. So let's start with our 27. It gets very earthy in the YR2s. It's almost more of an earth tone, which has some advantages. Gotta tell ya. I actually like the YR2s, and I bet if you follow me at all, you're going to know why. I actually pull out my YR2s for hair color on occasion because of that earth tone in them and kind of golden tones. Because to me, they work really well in kind of auburn, like as highlights, and even red as highlights, because they're not orange. They've got these really kind of butterscotch red, I don't know, they just work. So I do like the YR2s. So this is, we've worked through YR27, YR24, and YR23. Sorry, I'm not full discretion. This is YR21. Look at this pretty color. If you're a fan of Y21, you would also like YR21. They're actually extremely similar. That's the YR21. And then we have a YR20, which is really light. Really light. So I really like this color combo, even though we're stepping away almost from the yellow reds. But that YR27 could come in on the other end of that YR18 and actually work pretty well. I like that. Okay, just saying. Then we have a funny little group. Moving. These two petals are going to be the YR3s, and there's only two, and they're really light. YR31 and YR30. And again, this set actually comes out of my bag a lot, and it is specifically for hair. I use it as a base color for sometimes blondes, more often brunettes and redheads, because it has that hint of red in it, a lot of yellow, but really warm yellow. So that's the YR31, and then this is the YR30. Now I don't know if you remember when I showed off our red violets and our greens, each of those sets now have a 30. The YR actually had a 30 before the Copic 30th anniversary set came out. So this one, everyone can own. YR30. You don't only get it if you happen to be in Japan at the anniversary. So we're working our way around. 0s, 1s, 2s, 3s. Now, because it doesn't get darker, it's hard to see it getting more desaturated. I think it does, but when it's so light like that, it's actually a little hard to see that. We only have 2 groups left, and one of them is the 6s. We're going to do 3 petals with the 6s, and we have a 6-8, a 6-5, and a 6-1. Now, I'm going to argue on this one as well. I don't think it's following the rules because look what just happened. This is the YR68. Does this look more desaturated? I'm going to say not really. As much as I love Copic, they don't follow their own rules on occasion. That's okay. I can still love them. So this is a YR68. YR65. It's a pretty color. Definitely not going to argue that. In fact, it's one I should probably pull out more often. Not sure on what. I'd have to think that through a bit. It's very peachy. Again. So it's almost more like the 0s. And this is the YR61. But to me, the YR0s, like this petal looks pretty similar to this. If anything, there seems to be a little more yellow. But if I line those colors up on the side, I bet they'd be pretty darn close. Then we have an oddball. And I love a good oddball. I fit in that category, and it's YR82. It is a standalone YR. We seem to have almost one in every set. So YR82 is the standalone in the YRs. So we're gonna fill them in. We'll let it sit here a second. And then remember how we can layer color even with the same marker and kind of build up that depth of color. So we'll come in, we'll do at least a couple more layers here. See if we can't give that a little shape. Ooh. That's a lot of ink, Michelle. So what else could I do with YR82? Where else do you think it might fit? I think it would actually fit with either group sitting side by side, which is odd because the group to its left is the zeros and the group to its right is the sixes. So when I look at this flower, I feel like we've got this group over here that are kind of a cooler yellow red. And then we've got this group over here that is a much warmer yellow red. But it doesn't divide where I think it should divide, because we've got the zeros and then the sixes and the eights, and it's the ones and the twos that are the warmer. And to me, it'd make more sense if the division was more like zeros and ones and twos sat together, or the zeros and ones sat together, and then the 2, 3s, 6s, and 8s. Something like that. That makes more sense in my head. But visually, that's not what's happening. So pull this little egg over so you can see it again, and you can get a little screenshot if you want to remind yourself. Zeros, ones, twos, threes, sixes, and 8. We could even give 8 one more little push. You can do it. It's such a light color. Even when I layer it, it doesn't get a whole lot darker, but it's getting there. Look, we got a little. Okay. So those are the yellow reds. And this month at Violetta Ink, there will be a discount code on all of your yellow reds, the markers and the refills. So April 2022, this is what is on sale over there, the yellow reds. If you're interested, the code will be along the top of the video, at the front of the video, at the back of the video, and in the comments. I'll also have this info on my Facebook page with the trailer for this video, and Instagram as well. I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have questions about Copics or questions about what I'm doing or other combinations, please raise your hand. Most of the time when I'm finding new combinations, mixing these groups together, I'm just doing what I did here. I'm playing with the colors and layering them up. I would see those ones and twos and even those threes. Look at how those threes would sit underneath those twos as the highlight colors. Those would work amazing together. And again, that 2-7 coming in is a darker color underneath, or with that 1-8 to kind of desaturate it further and create some of those shadows is going to work beautiful as well. So play around with them. Find which ones work best for you. But that's what we've got. There's your YR color family. Every single one that Copic makes. Have a great day, everybody. Have a happy, colorful day.